Okay, we have a very, very exciting thing for you guys. One of the most important topics, because this involves your potential customers, your users. I would like to bring to the stage Christina Brodbeck. Please give her a round of applause. And we're gonna have Tobias Rose-Stockwell with us too. So give him a huge round of applause too. And I need you guys to take over. I'm done. I'm gonna get another microphone.
Wow. You guys, that's a really tough act to follow. That was awesome though. So hey, we're here to talk to you guys about getting to work. We've been doing all this amazing ideation and conversations about where to go, the kinds of things that are interesting to you, the purposeful, broad-based visions that you have for changing humanity. But we're here to talk about, first of all, Christina, who is an incredible entrepreneur who was on the founding team of YouTube, helped scale that company to the massive powerhouse that it is today. As you guys probably know, it was acquired for about $1.65 billion by Google back a long time ago when that was still a lot of money. It still is a lot of money. But we're going to talk about designing for scale and success. Format is we're going to basically talk a little bit to Christina about her experiences doing this kind of work in the past. And then we're going to show you some of our tools that we use to design and prototype, really to get to work and build a great product out the door, to turn these ideas into something measurable and tangible starting out. So we're going to kind of keep this tight because we want to let you guys get to work pretty fast. But basically, we're going to start out, Christina.
Yes.
Is that working?
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah? Awesome. Cool. So how did YouTube start? How did you get into this in the first place?
Yeah, so YouTube was really founded by Chad, Steve, and Javed, and then they managed to gather a bunch of friends together. All of us knew each other probably for about 10 years or so. We either went to college together or people worked together at PayPal beforehand. And really it was just trying out a bunch of different ideas, and a lot of us working from home, and it ended up evolving to what it is today. But it was really just a bunch of friends who got together and started working on side projects.
Awesome, cool. Did you guys do this kind of broad visioning and ideation that we've been talking about this morning?
Well, so YouTube actually first started out as a dating site. It looked like Hot or Not, where you would go to the site and there was one video and you would rate it to get to the next video. We definitely learned that people were uploading videos other than dating videos. And so we quickly realized that we could make something more of this, and we changed the format to be more of a browse format.
Cool. So you actually made some design decisions really early on that actually changed the entire trajectory of the site pretty fast.
Yeah, exactly. And it was based off of what we saw that people were doing.
Did anyone know that YouTube started out as a dating site? No? Okay. Yeah, pretty interesting. Cool. And so when you guys started to make these design decisions, what were the most important things that you followed along the way? Like, were you focusing on small wins? Like, out the door, I know you guys hit some walls really fast. Like, you actually kind of failed right out the door, right?
I mean, I definitely remember there were days when, like, I remember Steve was really excited because we had 70 views or something on a video, and it was not friends and family. That was a really big deal, and that was a very small win.
70 views.
Yeah, or there was this one video that it was a guy shooting coins into a shot glass, and I remember we were talking about, oh, maybe people were sharing that video more so than they were the other videos on the site. And this was kind of before the term viral became popular, so we didn't use that term, but we realized that there was something that you could share a video and it would reach a bunch of people.
So that was the first discovery, like, oh wow, this is the first viral video ever.
I don't know if it was exactly the first, but I know at least internally it was one of the videos that we talked about, and it kind of gave us a hint of there's something more there.
Okay, that's pretty interesting. So guys, I think that Rebecca mentioned this yesterday, but currently YouTube Mobile has 40% of the internet traffic in the United States. This is one application, one specific app that Christina helped build in the early stages of it. What were the decisions that kind of brought you guys to mobile early on?
And so when YouTube itself first started, people were barely using their cell phones, and you weren't able to capture video and things like that. So YouTube itself evolved It was the right time and the right solution. People were taking videos on their digital cameras and uploading it. A couple years later, smartphones still weren't out, but myself, Dweeple, and then 3 or so biz dev people within YouTube, we really wanted to be able to watch YouTube videos on our phone. So it became a side project within YouTube. Actually, Dweeple, who's my current co-founder, was running YouTube videos on his home server so that we could test out mobile. And we realized that, you have this device that you're always carrying in your pocket. Most of the people on YouTube.com are already watching short videos more so than long form content. So we decided it was a perfect format for that.
Awesome, cool. But people in the beginning, they're like, why would people want to watch videos on their phone?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, even until after the iPhone launched, we really had to fight for the importance of mobile.
That's interesting. Okay, cool. You didn't even see it right at the door, right? Yeah, cool. Do you guys watch a lot of YouTube videos? Yeah. On your phones too? Yeah, I know we did. No? Okay. So currently, when you guys are building a company, I think this is a really important point. When they started out, they didn't really know what they were going to measure straight out the door, but they ended up with this one very key metric, this one very key thing that they decided to measure. Maybe you can just talk about that for a sec, because I think that's really important.
Yeah, metrics were very important to us as a company, and this was before people, KISS metrics and a lot of the analytics tools that are out there now. But we measured every single thing in the company against views. How many views were happening on the site, or how many views were happening on mobile? And to a certain point, I don't remember exactly at what point, but every single person in the company received an email every night with, this is how many views are going on. So everybody was very aware of that metric, and when we were designing features, it was all about how can we increase the view count.
So Mark Andreessen from Andreessen Horowitz is a top-tier Silicon Valley venture firm. He says, you make what you measure, which I think is a really valuable adage, because when you're actually starting your company, it's going to take you a little while to figure out what it is you want to measure as your key performance indicator, your KPI, as it's called in the slang terms of the day. But that one indicator is going to help you build your company in the direction that you need to build it. So with Christina and YouTube, it was views. In their first iteration, it might have been dates, or advertising dollars. But in her situation, it was actually views. And specifically on ads, you guys made a decision early on to not monetize.
Yeah, we were very focused on community. I think that was one of the differentiators, especially between sites like Google Video, which existed at the time. We really implemented community, right? We had comments, which over time, comments, love or hate YouTube comments, but in the beginning it really helped to get people talking about the video. And so community was definitely another metric that, we had metrics around community.
Awesome. Now, when you guys are at this really special point, right, where you're ideating, you're trying to figure out what key product features to include in what you're building. Now, there's something about copying that I think is kind of frowned upon generally, right? You don't want to copy someone else. And there's a real difference when you're copying something, when you're copying it for yourself, right? There's you could kind of draw a graph around it. If you're copying something for FOMO, right, because someone else is doing something, fear of missing out, you're like, cool, they're doing it, I want to get in that market because they're doing it, versus copying someone for inspiration. There's a really kind of key differentiation. If you guys want to copy someone, go ahead and copy them as long as you're getting creatively inspired by that particular feature set, as opposed to just exclusively duplicating it. I mean, you guys had some issues with that early on, right?
Yeah, one of the things, and this was probably, I guess, one of the failures that we had this this feature of the site called YouTube Colleges. And that was kind of in response to Facebook at the time. Facebook was becoming more popular. And so we're like, okay, let's create an aspect of YouTube where if you had an academic address, you could share videos within your college. But one of the things we learned is, you shouldn't necessarily react to things. It was us saying oh, maybe our users would want this, instead of our users actually telling us what they wanted.
Super important. Do you guys know Lean Startup stuff? Have you heard of that before? Yeah? Lean Startup methodology? Yeah? Awesome. That's a really good number of people, actually. Cool. So you guys are familiar with MVP, minimum viable product, customer development? Customer development? Anyone? A couple people? Okay. All right. So customer development is this process of just rigorously going out there and talking to people about your product. You might not even have a product yet, but just going around, getting out of the building, talking to the team next to you, even talking to the person on the corner, your potential customer, and getting feedback on the product. It's one of the most important key aspects of building a company. And unfortunately, it's actually the inverse thing that you think you should be doing when you're starting out. I think this is actually a good time. We can kind of go into the rest of this here. Let's see if this works. Cool. So this is the build, measure, learn framework. And this is a really, really important framework for making decisions and about what you're going to focus on starting out. You see there's build, measure, learn. In between you have ideas, design/code, and then data. Now, if you're at this point where you guys feel like you're solid on an idea, it's really time to get to work and start to build something that you can measure and test. Now, one of the biggest problems with building something and not measuring it against the world is that you end up in this kind of little vacuum chamber on your idea, and you won't actually get the feedback that you need to actually build the product and make it better. In fact, you can end up, and I'm sure that a lot of our mentors and other people that have started companies know, like you can actually end up getting really, really far with a product idea, spend months, even years on developing something without testing against the world, and then find out that people don't actually want it, which is really, really key and important when you're actually building this stuff out. Eric Ries, who wrote The Lean Startup, kind of a brilliant guy in this space, he has talked pretty extensively about this cycle, saying that you actually don't even really need much of a product to build out a successful test, a customer development test on this. So the reason that we're putting this up here is because you guys are at this point, I'm hoping now, that you'll be ready to get out there and start testing your ideas. Even if you haven't coded it up completely yet, you can actually start talking to people about what you're building, start getting some feedback, and start getting some initial customer reactions about what you're going to build. So we're going to share some tools starting out here with you guys. So has everyone used mockups before? Has everyone done mockups for sites and stuff? Yeah? Cool, mockups? Good, good, good. So there's a difference between low fidelity and high fidelity mockup tools. And what we're going to do is we're going to share some of our favorite tools that we use to build a site, to mock it up, and then test it out over time.
And again, a little bit of a background between low fidelity and high fidelity. So low fidelity is usually wireframes, which are kind of sketched out versions of flows, and high fidelity is more pixel perfect.
Difference. Key. Okay, so this is Balsamiq. Are you guys familiar with Balsamiq? Awesome. If you are, that's great. If not, this is one of the best low fidelity mockup tools that's out there. Basically, this tool allows, there's a free version online you can get, or it's like a 7-day trial that you guys can use, which is plenty of time in the context of this event. But basically, it allows for you to build super simple wireframes of an app that you want to build. There's a better one that we have for mobile coming up, but this is a great one for existing websites if you guys want to build a mockup for a website in itself. Super helpful, and it's low fidelity in the sense that it looks like crap, and that's the point. Like, this is going to look like crap. You want it to look like crap, because when you're testing out, if you actually make a really shiny, polished site starting out, and you start to test it on people, in their mind, they're actually going to be judging the design before they're judging the actual product. And what you guys want is feedback on the actual usability, functionality of it, and not like whether or not it's blue. And that happens a lot. So this is POP, which is prototyping on paper. This is actually a really cool tool. You can talk about it for a sec.
Yeah, so what you do is you hand sketch an interface, and then you take a photo of it with the app, and then you're able to select different aspects of it to link so that you can go to the next screenshot.
So you can literally sketch out your entire app on paper, take a photo of it with your phone, and then link up different pages to build just a completely low fidelity, like crappy linkable version of your site that you can hand to people. They can click through and test the functionality of it. Super, super helpful. Actually bought by YouTube founders recently. This is a Smashing Magazine link.
Yeah, so this is a really good resource. There's probably like 15 or 20 free printable paper prototyping tools here. And it's one of the things, like, you know, if you don't have time or don't have access to POP or things like that, you can just download these templates and then get outside of the building and sketch up things and go show people. Super
helpful. All right, now we're on to high fidelity. So there's a differentiation here, guys. When you want to start getting out there and getting feedback from people, this is where you're going to move to when you want to actually build something that looks nice. Once you've gotten some existing customer feedback, You can build a high fidelity mock and start getting good customer responses. Now, this is really important because a huge part of what you guys are going to be judged on is actually how your app looks. All right, you have a really short amount of time here to build something that probably won't work very well. Like, it's awesome, it's going to work somewhat, I hope, but parts of it probably won't work that well. This is really important to think about how it's going to look in the long term, which is kind of where we're going right now. So this is a tool called Kinetopia, which I actually like a lot. It's helpful. Unfortunately, it's a pay-to-play thing. I think it's a $40 download. You might be able to find a version online if you're clever. But basically, this allows for you to build a high-fidelity mock of a iPad interface or an iPhone interface, mostly a mobile interface using iOS. They have iOS 7 on there as well now. And they even have an app for your phone or for your iPad that you can link up the PowerPoint. So this is actually all built in PowerPoint. So you can basically build an entire application, Keynote, entirely in Keynote, which is all vector-based, which is nice. So you can link an entire app together and then display it on your iPad or your iPhone, go through it, and actually have clickable links between it, which is super helpful and nice. Unbounce. Unbounce is actually a really awesome tool if you want to build a landing page fast. If you want to build it super fast, this is really, really helpful. Basically, this allows for you to build and publish a straight landing page that someone can go to and share with your friends. Basically, all the key marketing material that you want on there. You can put a sign-up link on there so that people can put their email address in there. You can actually put surveys in there, really, really basic stuff. But it's helpful for building just a quick splash page. And it has a link. You can send it out to all your friends and do some actual immediate customer development as well. Bootstrap. Is anyone familiar with Bootstrap here? Awesome. This is one of the most amazing tools out there for developers, in the sense that if you're a developer and not a designer, this makes your life so much easier. If you're not familiar with it, basically it's a user interface framework in a library for developers. So when you're building your app, you can make a piece of crap look great really, really fast. That was for inspiration, guys. This is super important because when you're building this, you want it to look and feel good, but you also want it to own it. Am I right?
Yes, definitely. And if you don't have access to like a designer on your team, or if you don't have if you're an engineer and you're unable to design things, it's really great to go to places like ThemeForest to get inspiration, and you can also purchase templates from there.
So this is a good place to just kind of get plug-and-play templates for your stuff if you need them, and they're cheap, which is good. Behance portfolio site. It has a whole bunch of designers' portfolios on there. A lot of resources for different people that focus on this as their full-time job. Really helpful. The final one, which is my favorite, is Dribbble. If you guys are not familiar with Dribbble, you should definitely be familiar with it. It's a super, super, super helpful tool. Basically, it's a repository. It's show and tell for designers is what they call it. It's kind of like Pinterest for people that really, really care about design. Whenever I'm trying to design something, whenever I'm trying to build something that's great, I go here for inspiration first, and I just browse around for a couple hours. You can build out a great repository of food for your creative juices here, and it's super, super helpful to get stuff from. Testing. Testing.
Yeah, testing is incredibly important. I think we touched upon this a little bit earlier, but one of the things you really want to do is talk to people who will give you critical feedback. So I really encourage you guys to go and talk to people outside of your team, talk to the other teams, or if you can, get outside of the building, but at least speak to other people in this room. 5-second test is actually pretty interesting. So you can create a hi-fi mock-up, then you put it on 5-second test, and people will come and they will tell you what they noticed first on your page. So they'll say, oh, I noticed this button first, or I noticed this image. So you can find out how people are interacting with your page.
It's like quick feedback that you can basically pay people for to come to your site and give you feedback that you need that's going to be neutral. It's not going to be your friends saying, oh, I love this. But yeah, this is actually helpful.
Another thing is it's really important to get the messaging right for your site or for your app. So you can run Facebook ads or Google ads to test your messaging against your demographic really quickly.
And then, yeah, I think those are two really key things if you guys want to actually test on a larger market, Facebook ads and Google ads. I think we had a reference point from Roger saying that Facebook ads were a little better for that. Okay, cool. And we have a little exercise for you guys. This is really, really important. Branding, okay. Like I said, you're going to be at this point where your judges are going to be basically looking at you on this tremendously short, kind of unfair period of time and judging how cool you are, which is sad. But the reality is you can convince them that you're really cool by building a great brand in a short period of time. Now, I'm not sure who said this, but I really believe this. A brand is like a person, and it's a person that you want to hang out with. If you think about that, it's really, really important. I know there's a lot of engineers in the room that are probably like, whatever, brands. But this is really, really important, I think, particularly in the short time period. Right now, you're going to be judged on originality, story, and functionality. And if you think about story and originality, those two things are actually brand related. So keep that in mind when you work on this. And there's non-developer people on your teams. This is a great thing for you to glom onto and think about, because this is just a fantastic exercise for you to start focusing on this very important key point.
And I think it's also really important as a team building exercise, because it helps you to define as a goal, what do you guys think of collectively and what persona does your brand have? But it allows you to all have input, and that way you also get to know more about your teammates.
Definitely. Cool. Do you want to start out with this?
Oh, sure. So I think in order to give your brand a personality, you first want to decide what gender your brand is. Is it male, female, or is it neutral? Does it not have a gender? And the next thing you can do is, as a team, select 10 adjectives and then narrow them down to the 3 most important adjectives that define your brand.
So this could be like a voting process for you guys, right? So select 10 adjectives that you think this is, some examples, like this is a pretty brand. This is a...
like a heartwarming brand.
Heartwarming. Dark.
Yeah.
Light.
Exactly.
And then finally pick 3 of what it is and what it is not, okay? And we have these specific things on. This is actually pretty important. 3 actors that it is, 3 cars that it is, 3 alcohol brands. You don't have to do all of them, but these are good. This is a really good framework. I would pick like 4 or 5 of these and try them out. 3 foods that it is, and then 3 foods that it is not. 3 cities that it is, and then 3 cities that it is definitely not. And this allows for you to triangulate within your team around the kind of messaging and branding that you want to actually have on this moving forward. We're going to be around as well to talk about this in the future if you guys want to actually have like legitimate, broader conversations about how to get your messaging right, because messaging is super, super important. You're going to basically distill down your entire purpose into a single line. And that's extremely, extremely important and helpful when you're doing customer development along the way.
And one of the things that's on here is, picking 3 websites or 5 websites that you like and 5 that you don't, because that will really help your designer to give them direction.
Helps a lot. Cool. I think that's actually it, guys. If you have any questions, we'll be around. So thank you so much, and get to work.
Hello. That worked. How about another round of applause for Christina and Tobias? Thank you, guys.